What's up? What's up? I just recorded this whole video, and like, since I was recording in 8K, they said it's only 5 minutes. So I was just talking to the screen for I don't even know how long. But I'm gonna do this again. So, for the people who are new, welcome to the channel. Like, share, comment, subscribe. This is for the collective, okay? For people who are new to the series, the point of this is to show the ancients were right and to provide the scientific evidence. I know people seen the title of this one. This is about astrology. Okay, this picture is Time magazine. All right, astrology in the White House, because there have been presidents who practice astrology. Right, I'm sure people are familiar with J.P. Morgan and his quote. Right, that millionaires don't do astrology, billionaires do. Right, so we're gonna get into why he said that, and you know, kind of want to hit this point home really hard. So this is going to be the scientific part of this, okay? There's something called the alias effect. So during solar eclipses, pendulums and gravimeters experience shifts and anomalies. So if someone wanted direct scientific evidence for astrology, you could simply tell them about the alias effect, which some people will call it pseudoscience or not true, which people have already recorded. But fine, let's pretend they're right. Let's talk about something called quantum entanglement and what exactly that is. So they're saying a particle in me could be affected by a star way out in the solar system somewhere. And these two particles can interact and be exactly the same. Exactly the same particle. So that star could affect my biology directly, just like what astrology is saying, right? Basically. Parts of it, right? Because there's different types of astrology. We're going to get into those different types of astrology, okay? Radio waves. Radio waves directly affect biology. Alright? Sun, stars, galaxies, even. There are bursts of radio waves from all over the place. Those radio waves directly affect biology on this realm, because they directly affect the sun, which has a direct effect on our biology. And we're gonna get into that. Okay. Frequencies. So frequencies themselves, cymatics, and all these things, they directly have an effect on our biology. So frequencies from different bodies can have a direct biological effect. That's a scientific fact. That's not, I didn't make none of this stuff up. You could look this up, right? Just like magnetic flux, dielectric flux, and electromagnetic fields can have a direct effect on biology. The sun's magnetic field, the black hole's magnetic field, how these field interactions happen, right? So you have the field of this star interacting with the field of the sun, and then the field of the sun interacting with the field of the earth directly, and then the ionosphere and the space weather, how that affects human beings, right? And how that works. So this is going to affect the sun, which has a direct effect on our biology. How is that woo-woo nonsense, right? But they're going to say, oh, astrology is woo-woo nonsense. So besides for all of those facts, let's provide some more, just to keep beating a dead horse, right? So, how indigenous myth, storytelling, and knowledge could forewarn us of natural disasters. This is a scientific article. Scientists literally studying ancient mythologies are saying that they could forewarn us of natural disasters just by studying their stories, which are directly tied into astrology, because that's how their science worked. That's how they predicted things, using astrology. So scientists are basically saying, use astrology, they could forewarn us of natural disasters, which is partially what they used it for anyway, right? Evidence. So the sun has a multi-rhythmic heartbeat, and 3 planets might be behind it. Venus, Earth, and Jupiter alignments coincide with solar eclipses. So solar eclipses have a direct effect on biology, which we're going to see later, right? Then you have the alias effect, right? You have these planets directly affecting the sun, right? Which in this article going to say, oh, maybe, maybe not. These aren't coincidences, right? When things are aligned a certain way, those energy fields interact with each other. And that overall interaction we feel here. Because if we could feel that thing from a star way over there at the edge of the universe, how are you not going to feel something right in your local solar system? That don't even make sense, right? Moving on. Effects of geomagnetic storms on the ionosphere and atmosphere. Monitoring and forecasting of ionospheric space weather effects of geomagnetic storms by J. Lastovica. All right, basically, more facts on how geomagnetic activity and solar activity, specifically from the sun in this article, affects the ionosphere, which directly affects us in our biology. Ionosphere affects our biology. It has direct correlations with space weather. Okay. Studies find human biology respond to changes in solar and geomagnetic activity. So more articles showing how our biology is affected directly by solar and geomagnetic activity. Alright, and for the people who think I'm just talking, in the description, all the links and citations are going to be there. You can read these articles for yourself. Okay? You don't need no one telling you the truth. Learn. Okay? Science isn't about believing. This channel isn't about believing. Okay? If you hear the bird in the background, it is what it is. Okay? That's our bird. Alright? Anyway. I forgot what I was saying. The bird distracted me a little bit. But we're going to move forward because I remember what I was saying. I'm going to have all the links in the description. No one has to believe me. Science isn't about believing. This isn't religious class. This is science class. You use the scientific method. Scientific method includes experiments. So if there's no experiments, pseudoscience, right? It's very easy. You don't have to believe nothing, right? So don't believe me. Look it up. And yes, there's experts, okay? And they can teach you things, right? But you have a brain too. Use your brain, alright? Link between solar events and seismic events. Solar events, seismic events, alias effect, indigenous myths, storytelling, forewarnings. Everything connects. Everything connects. That's the point of this channel, to make everything redundant and connect so beautifully that no one has to believe anything, right? That's the beauty of it, right? So studies show trees synchronize signals during solar eclipses. So solar eclipses have a direct biological effect on not just human beings, but plants. And not just plants, animals. They ain't gonna run those studies, but it's a fact, alright? Run those studies because animals use the magnetic field of the Earth. The magnetic field of the Earth affected by space weather. So they already taught us the facts. We don't even need the experiments, but let them conduct the experiments and say, oh, it's not true, because they like to do weird stuff, like give you facts, like, oh, magnetic field. They go off the magnetic field, but it doesn't affect them, but it does. It does when we say so. Like, okay, buddy. Anyway, to keep beating a dead horse here, the Hartzman Institute Tree Rhythm Project. Alright, very cool project to look up. Alright, basically they have evidence of energetic connections between the Earth's magnetic field, people, and trees. So, from earlier, wrapping things up a little bit, waves and frequencies come from the EMF field, magnetic field, dielectric field, both affect biology. EMF fields affect biology. The sun, the stars, the planets, the people, Earth's magnetic field, the trees, everything connected, right, so far, right? You have field interactions, right, which I didn't add here, but I mentioned it, right? So, to this point, at this point, you know, someone could just be like, you know, you're only mentioning the sun. Cool, we got something for you. Alright? Neutron stars radiation has genomic effects on biology. Yes, neutron stars affect your biology. Mr. Astrology is woo woo. Right? And guess what? Black holes affect biology too. Black holes, stars, planets affecting the sun affecting. I'm here to beat that horse to death. It's already dead. Tuh. I don't even like that analogy. I'm gonna find a new one. Anyway, to keep piling on here, because at this point, if it was a championship fight, they already got 10-7 this round. Long range order. Plasma structures itself at long distances. Any water in our body above 0 degrees follows this same rule. Plasma physicist David A. Frank Kamenetsky's works from the 1960s on plasma and radio waves and their biological effects. So radio waves, plasma, biological effects on top of the fields, on top of the sun, on top of all these things having biological effects. Yeah, this is woo bullshit. Yeah, we're naming 10 things all having biological effects. Right? It's like, how much evidence do you need? Like, how much evidence do you need? Some people aren't satisfied, I get it, and I already provided in the other videos that study from Stanford, right? That's it's called identity, bias, and belief, right? So you can provide someone with tons of evidence and their own bias, they won't even believe it. You can show them whatever, right? So I know there's people out there like that. But for the people who are really saying, oh, I love science, look what I'm providing. Like, don't even believe me. Go into those links. Read these things. This is not a game or a joke. Okay? It's not me making stuff up. And by the way, Frank's works go great with the works that I provided in previous videos, right? Like VN's papers on complex cell-forming plasma with attributes of organic beings, right? And also Charles Wood's cosmic rays influence on terrestrial DNA and RNA, right? Where he shows DNA and RNA follow the right-handed rule, just like magnetism, because magnetism is within the electric field, because the universe is in an electric field, right? Walter Russell's electric field, not this BS new electric universe stuff where they're using quantum and relativity garbage with their it's garbage. They got good stuff like the Sapphire Project going on, but the way they just try and satisfy certain people just so they get views, man, either do it or don't. Got good stuff going on. Like, just go all the way. Anyway, further evidence on top of it, right? You got Dr. Ibrahim Karim's biogeometry. Very interesting stuff, right? And this is the science of establishing harmony between biological fields, their environments, through the use of design, language of color, form, motion, and sound. Okay? And his works happen to pair beautifully with works from previous videos, like Wilhelm Reich's works, right, on field interactions and excitations, right? And Bental's works, right, which is mental universe, right, and information coming from plasma galaxies, cosmic webs, and his CIA documents on how he with meditation and hemisync, how you can sync to the earth and all that stuff, which is interesting when you consider all the other evidence, right, in this video. And then also you got Alexander's works on heliobiology, right? So a lot of interesting connections we're making here on this channel for people to be familiar with certain people's works, so that when people try and goof around our people and try and disrespect, we come in with the science. We're not playing with these people. We're not playing with them. The ancients taught science. They didn't teach mythology, all right? Mythology is what we call it now, all right? And they try and basically make it look goofy, which is crazy. So, moving on. We already established astrology is a fact through all that evidence, so we're not playing. For the people who don't believe it, don't believe it. You're not supposed to believe anything. It's science. You either know or you don't. So if you don't know, you don't know. Right? Keep it like that. And then go and know. Anyway, so the Hindus have something called the Kundalini chakra planetary system. So basically, the chakras in your body, which are energetic points, they also exist in the universe, right? Within a system, planetary system, right? So this system affects this system, and this system's connected to this system. All right, and they had a whole system for that, right? And they basically had this planetary system located above Mount Samara. All right, so people who don't know, Mount Samara, located in the North Pole. All right, that's what they're calling now Rupus Negro, right? And basically, they considered it the central pivot point of the universe, and the entire cosmos revolved around it. All right, so that would make Earth the root chakra of this system, right? And that would mean that the North Star would be like the throat chakra or something like that, right? We'll get into that deeper. I haven't looked too deep into that. Now, for the people who want to get into astrology, there's different types of astrology. And for the mainstream people, they're going to make it seem like, oh, it's, your sign and, your personalities. Basically, I'm Capricorn, I'm going to be like this. And that's a very vague way of putting it. And that's one type of astrology. There's different types. And there's different cultures, right? You got the Dendera, you got Sumerians, you got the Asians, the Hindus. The people have their own astrology. And you have cultures, they share, like, they both have the same constellation. It'll be a different animal in different shapes. And you'll have two cultures that have the same star in different constellations, right? Like Greece and Sumeria, I believe, have that. So it's very important to understand what astrology is, where it comes from, right? So what is astrology, right? Basically, it's the same thing as the chakras, right? These are energy points, right, within the biological system. That biological system happens to be the universe, right? So, like I said before, no tool is necessarily evil, right? So it's a tool that could be used, right, to know different energetic points within a cycle, right? So originally, the cycle was different than it is now. A lot of changes happened to the solar system, right? But originally, it was meant to be a control system, which it is now. Well, not necessarily. That would be like a gun is just a gun. It's not going to do anything. It's just the people behind the gun, right, to do something. So it's just a tool that could be used. It was created by the being who created this universe, okay? And this universe wasn't created on innocent terms. This isn't necessarily an innocent thing. It's just something that we deal with, and it is what it is. Finding heaven and hell is a very powerful thing. All right. So basically, you have standard astrology, right? And standard astrology deals mostly with the signs and the inner psychologies, right? Like why this sign you think this way, right? And why is that? Because basically, your sign has to do with the placement of the celestial bodies, right? And that's important because the day you were born, you came out the womb, those energies hitting your head basically give you personality traits. And not a lot of people believe that, but it's not about believing or not. Because basically, there were 33 original gods that sat on the mountain of Mount Samara, right? And what those 33 gods represent are the original 33 energies that got split, right? So everything was a whole, right? You have the mind. You close your eyes. All that chaos without thinking, no thoughts, that is the original, okay? When that got disturbed, so basically the thought materialized into a particle, right? So when these thoughts materialize, the original 9 creative energies, the vortexes, the original creative energies, the divine feminines, they created the other energies. And in total, the original was 33, right? So from those 33, you can get your archetype as far as your soul's divine bloodline on where you come from. You come from one of these original 33, which all come from the original whole point, right? So that's basically the study on that. And the two dates that matter is the day of conception and the day out the portal. But it's harder to know the day of conception. So we rock with the day of the portal because it works too, right? So, celestial astrology, the observations of celestial positions. So you're looking at the planets and relative to the galaxies and the stars and their positions and how those energetic points work and what degrees is this and what degrees is that, right? Then you got esoteric astrology, which deals with your soul missions and your past lives and all these things which you're supposed to do. So astrology is a very in-depth, complex system, and it's not just one thing. And it's going to tell you many things about yourself. You have more than one sign, okay? It's not woo-woo bullshit. Sorry to put it that way, but it is what it is. So some changes are made along the way for mathematical reasons, okay? So the sun, the ecliptic, the sun orbits 13 constellations. All right, but for mathematical reasons, right, because they use the base 10 system for the clocks, right? So you got the 12, right? So they wanted to split it into 12 equal parts, okay? That would make 36 degrees, right? That would make 30 degrees each, right? And so for mathematical reasons, when it came to the Egyptians, it came to Sumerians and the Mayans and stuff, to make it the math all look pretty, they basically changed some things up, right? But the 13 on the ecliptic, you got Jesus, the 12 disciples, stuff like that, right? So even the Egyptians, they have something called decans, right? And these are small groups of stars, right? 10 degrees each, right? That's to do with the Kabbalistic tree, but you know, that's for another video. But everything is basically mathematic and geometric, and them trying to make it look pretty. But nature is chaotic, okay, and it doesn't really move the way you want it to move. You're getting towards the end of the video, not exactly, but so the zodiac is Walter Russell's cosmic clock, okay, and your zodiac should include Ophiuchus, right? And we should have names that aren't Greek and Roman, but we'll get into that in another video. Alright, anyway, Walter Russell's cosmic clock, which should basically mean the zodiac is a circuit, okay? How does it work? I'm right now going to break down how planets work within this solar circuit, okay? There's galactic circuits, there's bigger circuits, okay? We're going to get into this. All right. Let's start small, okay? So stars are transmitters. Stars take information from counter space or another dimension and they transmit it into this dimension, okay? Planets are nodal points in that circuit, okay? And they interact with these EMF fields and magnetic flux and dielectric flux, right? So, basically any point where two components meet, resistors or capacitors, right? So you have these points and the energy could be resisted, right? Or it could be transmitted, it could like power up, right? So the sun is a unipolar inductor transmitting information, right? Just like stars. They take information from one place, transmit it into another place, right? Then you got Mercury, right? When induced, a magnetic field creates waves that transfer mechanical motion into electrical and magnetic energy. So, when the sun sends out solar wind, that magnetic flux literally affects Mercury, and that's what happens. Okay, what happens to Venus? Well, Venus collided with Mars in the ancient texts, right? So basically, what happened is it's large, highly conductive, and unmagnetized obstacle in the path of solar winds. So since it had that collision, it's unmagnetized, okay, and it affects the solar wind, right? So you got Earth, and you have this body, right, and it's highly conductive. So when these energies, you know, are hitting this field, it's affecting it, right? So wherever these bodies are located, it has a direct effect with how we receive these signals, Okay. So the moon, I covered that in my last video. You can watch it. Okay, it's a crystal ship, and it's the key of the solar circuit. If you're interested in knowing a little bit more about that, you can check that video out. Okay. I have the series in the description. You could watch whatever videos you want, feel comfortable with. Anyway, so Mars and Venus collided, right? But there's UV light on Mars, but that's caused by the nuclear war. So there was a nuclear war that happened on Mars. Okay, you can read about it in the Babylonian text. This isn't me making stuff up. Okay, it's also highly conductive, and it's also an obstacle. Okay, so since it conducts electricity and stuff, when the fields of the sun, different things are sending energy, and it's in the path of the Earth. Okay, that has a direct effect right in the field of the Earth. Okay, Jupiter's a little different. It's a unipolar inductor, just like the sun, right? And you can consider it a cosmic electric generator, okay? It affects space weather. So in my sun video, we know the sun isn't that huge, okay? So we know Jupiter affects space weather just like the sun and Saturn, okay? And Uranus, right? We're going to get into that. Saturn, another nodal point, right? It's also a unipolar inductor, okay? It affects space weather. Okay, the difference between Jupiter and Saturn is Saturn is dielectric and Jupiter is magnetic. Okay, Jupiter represents divine feminine energy because it's magnetic. Okay, vortex based. Okay, dielectricity has to do with Satan. Okay, Saturn, Satan, even though that's Satan's dad, right? Dielectric flux. Okay, pitchfork. All right, very simple. Uranus. Now, Uranus is a subnode. It's also a unipolar inductor. Okay, and it sends plasmoids into space. So in Greek mythology, Uranus is considered the original light of the solar system. And then Saturn overthrows Uranus and Tiamat. So, excuse me. So basically, Uranus sends plasmoids into space. Okay, Uranus is the planet creator. All right, for those who don't know, check it out. Very interesting stuff. Right, it's not me making stuff up. All right, and if you know about that, and you know about the UAPs, and you're making giant UAPs, all right, Neptune, also a nodal point. It's a capacitor. Okay, and Pluto is an electrical comet. Right, just like the Earth, but the Earth was terraformed, hence the name Terra. Anyway, that would basically make the universe a large electrical system from combinations of circuits, right? Which basically makes the universe like neurons connecting to a giant cosmic brain. Okay? The Zodiac Constitution. For those who don't know, you're going to learn today. Alright, I'm not going to get into it. This is a plug for people who want to get into some deeper learning on astrology, learn a few little cool facts, right? So the Zodiac Constitution, definitely read it, especially with these conversations going on now, big stuff with race and all this stuff. Read that, right? And this is esoteric knowledge, occult wisdom on astrology, but mostly like Freemasonry. So it's called Turning the Solomon Key. Alright. George Washington, The Bright Morning Star, and the Secrets of Masonic Astrology. For people who want some keys, little things, little cool facts, check that out. Anyway, that's ending this session for today. I'm very glad and honored to be in this position to put out content. I'm an introvert, y'all. So to even be doing this and to be excited, I know I'm on the right path. I'm doing my mission. The point of this channel is for us. So I'm open to debate. I'm open to information and facts. We don't deny any science on this channel. And we use mythology. We use everything because that's our base. And science already proved it. And their materialistic science, we already killed that in the older videos, right? So we're not moving backwards. The point of this is to move forward, to build, to get our brilliant minds on this, right? So that we can have a foundation and then move forward and stop with these old talking points and these old debate points, all right? Like, we're done with it. we're growing now, we're building. So that's why I'm providing all of this. I'm gonna put it in PDF form. I'm gonna create scientific papers so we have all the information and facts there. Okay. Anyway, for the people who are watching who are new, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following. I'm so grateful to be in this position. You know, thank you for watching. More content on the way. I'm open to conversations, so please feel free, to discuss. If you want to push back, it's fine. I don't really give my opinion that much. I feel like on my last video with the moon, I gave a few downloads. I gave a lot of downloads on this channel already. I predicted a lot of things, right? I predicted the sun is conscious. Then those heliobiologists came out saying that stuff. Okay, I predicted that there's cities under the pyramids, right? They just did those scans. They found the coils first, then they found cities. I predicted there's cities under all these things, Machu Picchu, all these places. Okay, so I've made plenty of predictions on this channel using my downloads. This specific series is facts for us, so that when the downloads are heard, they know the source on what direction, like where am I getting why am I thinking like that? Why would I even say something like that? All right. It's actually built on the foundation of truth. A lot of it is, it's not just me making some wicked idea. It's my personal pattern recognition, because I'm what do you call it? Neurodivergent. I'm claircognizant. All right, so I could hear something and know it's true, and it just happened the other day. Okay, I was talking about, the pyramids in Alaska and all these sites and stuff, and pyramids in Canada, stuff that they don't talk about. Then I seen a scientific article talking about a site in Canada that kind of pushed back dates and stuff. So, in my life, that's how it happens. Is that I kind of know things beforehand, and then the information follows. So, to avoid putting people through that, because how are you gonna know something that I just know in my head? I wait till I get the information so I can present it here, right? So there's times that I give downloads, but that's not this particular series. So for people who want to check out my old videos, check out some downloads. I appreciate y'all. The quality wasn't the greatest on a lot of my old videos. We've done a lot of work, but for this is for us, okay? And the next videos, we're going to do the Earth. All right, so this is going to transition to the Earth. I'm going to talk about the Earth history. We're going to talk about the atmosphere. We're going to talk about geology. We're going to talk about evolution. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. All right. I'm very glad to be able to transition out of the space part of this. It seems very redundant, the information. But trust me, it was worth it, because moving forward, the math and the science, the way it was packaged, we could understand it now, like what it means versus what they're telling us it means. And then when we hear these new scientific things, these new facts that come out, when basically like the way it's supposed to be interpreted by the way the people who wrote these things, the meaning changes and it becomes a lot more simple and like brilliant and beautiful, and not like this complex, crazy, materialistic nonsense. Even though nothing is simple when it comes to science, but the simplex, complex, it's hard to explain how beautifully simple yet complex things are in nature. And they try and just overcomplicate things to make it mega complex, and it loses its beauty. Anyway, I'm done ranting on these people, man. Collective, thank you for tuning in. If you have a family, tell them you love them. If you don't have a family, just know your spirit guides, your spirit team, they're there. Thank them. Tell them you love them. Now's the time to be very appreciative for the things we have. All right, that's how we're going to build forward. All right, with gratefulness. So, remember, there's someone on the earth that isn't as fortunate as you, no matter what position you're in. All right, that doesn't mean to just ignore everything, but find your gracefulness, find your peace, because peace is in a place, peace is in here. All right. So to the gods, the goddesses, my brothers, my sisters, my cousins, everybody, because we're all related. Because if your particles are connected to the star, and you have the same biological, made of the same biological materials as stars, that means we're all related too. right? So y'all, my brothers, my sisters, my cousins, you know. So y'all, peace. Thank you for tuning in, and vibrate high.